magandang araw mga ka-channel. So ngayong araw na to, tuturuan ko kayo kung paano nga ba mag-edit ng inyong video gamit lamang ang inyong cellphone. Okay? So mamaya yun, pagkatapos po ng intro na to. So ngayong araw, tuturuan ko kayo kung paano nga ba mag-edit ng video. Pero medyo kakaiba yung episode natin ngayon sa pag-edit ng video. Kasi nga, kagaya nga ng nangyari ngayon na tayo ay humarap sa isang napakatinding pagsubok gaya ng pandemya na hatid ng COVID-19, maraming bagay ang nabago. 'Di ba? So, lalong-lalo na sa sistema ng edukasyon natin ngayon. So, wala nang face-to-face, hindi na regular na pumupunta sa school, hindi na nag-meet yung mga students at yung mga teachers. Meron na rin tayong tinatawag na blended learning, online learning, and modular learning. So, ngayong araw na to, sana makatulong sa inyo yung ituturo ko kasi magpo-focus tayo doon sa online learning. Okay? Kasi maraming situation ngayon na yung guro at yung students nagmi-meet na lang sila once a week or twice a week gamit ang teknolohiya. So, dahil gamit yung teknolohiya, andito na yung internet, andito na rin yung laptop, at kung ano-ano pang gadgets na kailangan para makakonect. So, andito na rin, lumabas na rin yung Gmeet at yung Zoom kung saan doon nagmi-meet ang students at ang kanilang teachers. Ngayon, may mga sitwasyon na hindi nakaka-connect yung mga students kasi nga hindi sila masyadong provided ng internet access na kailangan natin sa pag-conduct at pag-attend ng online class. Buti na lang, si Gmeet at si Zoom may pa-recording. So, dahil may pa-recording sila, nire-record ng mga guro yung klase or ng administrator, then sinisend yun sa guro, and then yung teachers or yung guro naman, sinisend nila yung copy ng recording ng classes sa kanilang mga students through email or kung ano paman. Ngayon, yung recording na yun ay masyadong napakahaba. Alangan naman syempre or hassle naman sa part ng students na papanoorin pa nila lahat yun. Kaya, andito ngayon ako para turuan kayo kung paano nyo i-edit yung mga Zoom classes nyo. Syempre, gamit lamang ang inyong cellphone at pati na rin ang tinatawag na Kinemaster. Okay? So, gagamitin natin si Kinemaster. Siya. Marami pa diyang video. Sorry, kasi nag-edit ako ng video. So, kung mapapansin nyo, wala pa dyan yung tungkol sa online. Kasi, papakita ko talaga sa inyo kung paano nyo sisimulan ang pag-edit ng inyong mga Zoom classes. So, ngayon, gagamitin natin si Kinemaster. Gagamitin rin natin ang inyong cellphone. Kasi, sa ngayon, napakadali na gamitin natin yung ating cellphones. Portable para kung kahit nasaan man kayong lugar, kayang-kaya nyong gawin. Kayang-kaya nyong i-edit yung mga recordings nyo ng klase at kayang-kaya nyo mag-conduct ng klase gamit yung cellphone. Kaya isa to sa advantage ng mga cellphone na ginagamit natin. So, kailangan lang nating i-maximize ang gadget na to. Okay? So, bago ko sa inyo ituro yung proseso ng pag-edit ng inyong Zoom or Gmeet classes recording gamit lamang ang cellphone at Kinemaster, kung bago pa lang kayo sa aking channel, huwag pong kakalimutang i-like, i-share, i-subscribe ang aming channel, Boss Abin Channel, and kindly click na rin yung notification bell para mas ma-update kayo sa mga i-upload pa naming videos. Okay? So, thank you so much at tara, umpisahan na natin ang ating video editing tutorial 101.
already asked your classmates if my screen is visible and if I'm audible this morning, and some of your classmates said that yes, so I think we can start. And also, you're already 161 in this class, so I think it's good to go for our class this morning, although we did not reach yet the half of the class. So before we proceed, let me just give you first the friendly reminders for this morning. So number one, please mute your microphone to avoid unnecessary sounds or noise. And number two, if you have intermittent internet connection, just like me, I am experiencing a not so good connection this morning. I think you and I can always switch off our camera. Okay. Number three, always feel free to ask questions or to clarify things in the upcoming discussions that we will be having this morning. And number four, always speak in English, not just in this Zoom class, but also in other conversations that we will have in the future with regard to our subject or our activities. Okay, so let's have the next slide. Sorry. Wait. Okay. So last week we failed to have our Zoom class because I experienced um, power interruption in the morning, and in the afternoon I also experienced internet connection problem. So for this day or this class, we will be covering two activities for week 6 and week 7. Okay? So first part will be formative assessment, and for the second part we will have the enrichment week for the week 7. Okay, so we only have 2 weeks to end the cluster 1. Okay, so when we talk about formative assessment, this is now the time for me to give the feedback to the outputs that you submitted for the midterm exam, which is your initial output of the multimodal advocacy campaign. So let me just inform you that I will be giving the general feedback, not the individual feedback, since I already watched all the videos, I've read all the posters or the infographics that you submitted. Okay? So I really consume a lot of time in watching your videos, in reading the content of your infographic. So for this morning, let's start with the content. So we will now first discuss the issue. When we talk about the issue, this is about the topic, the main core of your advocacy campaign. Okay? So number one that you should try to look at in your output. Number one, the issue or the topic that you selected must be the focus of your advocacy campaign or your awareness campaign. Like for example, if you are talking about body shaming, or if you are talking about fasting from social media, and if you are talking about pets or animal care in your multimodal advocacy campaign, you should be sure that all the things that you will be tackling from the start of the advocacy campaign down to the end part of your advocacy campaign should solely focus on that particular topic. Okay, but if you are thinking today that your advocacy campaign is really focusing only in one topic, then it's fine. Okay, so let me just reiterate again that these feedbacks that I will be giving you this morning are not subject. I mean, are not subject to one output, because this is the general comments that I wanna share with you. Next, the advocate must have the concern for it. So, for example, if your output is in video, um, the audience should really feel that the way you speak about it, the way you present data about it, seems like you as an advocate or as the person who created the advocacy campaign is really 100% concerned for the topic, okay, or concerned um for the entire things about, or for the entire concern about your topic. Okay. There's a message here saying that I'm lagging. Um, I think this is, I don't know if this is because of my internet connection or it's about your connectivity. Okay. So may I ask also some student to use the chat box and then inform me if I am also lagging in your connectivity. Okay. So others, okay, thank you for the okay. So thank you for the responses. So I think if some of you are experiencing a lot, I think you can also check your connectivity. Okay. So let's proceed. So the advocate, you as the advocate must really show to your audience that you are really concerned of it. If for example you did not show your face into your video, you can also show your concern by means of the text that you included in your video or in your infographics, and by presenting the pictures or the images that really shows concern, okay, real concern to your topic. Next, sufficient justification for and explanation of this is provided in the project. So for example, your topic or your advocacy is all about mental health. Okay, so you should always see to it that you are justifying your point in your particular output, and you are really explaining it thoroughly. Explanation that can really be enough for the audience to really get the thought of the topic about mental health. And lastly, you should always provide or support your advocacy with an evidence or statistics. Like for example, you want to show that, for this is just an example, you included or you want to include in your advocacy campaign that like 25% of the youth in Naga City is experiencing mental health concerns. So, meaning, if you want to include that, you should always include the reference, the source. You can present at you can present that in a small text, maybe um, at the lower part of your video or at the lower part of your infographics, because this everything that you will present in your advocacy campaign should really be a factual data. Okay, so these things should really be supported by an evidence and by a statistic. Like for example, the PSA as your source presented that 25% is um, is experiencing like an animal cruelty and like that and like this. So you should always be sure that whatever it is that you are presenting in your campaign is really supported by an evidence or a statistic data. So again, for the issue that you selected must be the focus of your campaign, and the advocate, you, the person who is campaigning, must have really the concern for that matter. And number three, sufficient justification about the topic and explanation about the topic should always be provided in your entire project. And lastly, you always be sure or see to it that everything that you present in your advocacy campaign is really supported with an evidence or statistic data. Okay? Next, articulation of the issue. The I just decided to put those label. Okay? So articulation of issue. So you need to ask your these questions to yourself so that you will be guided what the issue is, how it affects the individuals, the society, or another entity, for example, the environment, okay? And the goal for the awareness campaign are accurately and clearly articulated. So this is very important. Okay? In your infographics or in your multimodal advocacy campaign video, you should be sure that you are stating your goal. Okay? So what is the purpose of your awareness campaign? And it should be clearly stated for the audience. And the content should discuss how these things affect the society, the person, or you, or another entity. Okay? And you should always ask yourself what the issue is so that you will be guided that the entire discussion, the entire content will just be focused on that particular issue. Okay, so again, these are the questions or these are the things that you should put into highly consideration when it comes to the presentation of your issue or your advocacy campaign. Number one, always ask the question what the issue is and how it affects the individuals, the society, or another entity, and what is the goal of your advocacy campaign. The goal should be clearly articulated, okay? And it should be really accurate, okay? Next, the audience. So the audience can be clearly named. Like for example, your concern is about mental health of youth. So you can mention youth, okay? Or for example, you want to mention that your advocacy campaign is solely for Naga City about taking care of pets, adopting dogs. Okay, then you can mention. It's okay. It's fine to mention. Okay, your target audience and can develop the audience willpower to affect change related to the campaign. So you should be sure that, excuse me, that for example, me as your audience and I watched or I've read your advocacy campaign about mental health, you should be sure that at the end of your presentation and at the end of me reading the infographics or the advocacy campaign, I should develop the willpower to be one with you, to really be concerned of your campaign and to really have my willpower to support your campaign. So your content should really persuade your audience, okay, to not 100% um, work with you, act with you, but somehow in their own little ways, they can be very cautious and they can be very concerned about the particular topic that you presented in your advocacy campaign. Okay, then next, the proposal considers how the views and values of members of the audience have been considered and the analysis is reasonable and sufficiently explained. Okay, so you should be sure that when you present your advocacy campaign, you are not violating any values of your audience. And you should be really reasonable in presenting your advocacy campaign. Okay, next, we will now have the technical aspect of your multimodal advocacy campaign. So check the spelling, check your punctuation marks, check your grammar, okay? When you're speaking, check your grammar. When you're writing, check your grammar. Be sure to use dark background if your text are in light colors, okay? So that everything will be readable, okay? So check those things, okay? So again, these are general comments. But if you think all of these things are correctly followed by yours, then that's fine. Okay? So no need to change anything on it. Okay? But if you think that these things are not followed, then that's the time for you to really do it. By the way, for this coming week, what I will do is I will just write comment in your um, output when it comes to multimodal advocacy campaign. If I say it's accepted, meaning to say no need to change anything. But if ever your first output will not be accepted, I will be assuring you that I will give there specific comments for you to follow only. Like for example, I noticed that oh, this task or this output still has wrong in punctuation marks, in spelling, or in grammar, or in technical aspect, or in the content. I will just write there the exact thing that you should change. Okay, but for those whom I will know, I mean, I will consider that there are no errors committed. I will just put there a comment like, this is acceptable. Okay, so that's it. Next, let's have the enrichment week. So this is week 7.